Hello there, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. Today we are doing a long overdue affordable tarot and oracle dupes video. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is a video series that I started a while back ago. I meant to do them more often, but this one's been a long time coming, so I apologize. So I'm going to throw all of the dupes I have collected since my last one that I think are really, really good into this video. Most of the time I'm focused on duping decks I own, either with other decks I own or decks that are easy to get. My goal here is to share decks that are either out of print, difficult to find, or are just higher priced indie decks, and then share some affordable alternatives you can explore. Now, a couple of reasons why this video came about, or this idea came about. One of them is this: our counterfeit market in the tarot and oracle world is completely out of control. And it seems to so many people like a victimless crime, but it is not. Counterfeits that you can find on sites that I'm not even going to name, apps and sites that I'm not even going to name, are so harmful to so many people. And I have such strong feelings about it, but I'm not here to shame anybody. I am absolutely, though, here to say most of us at some point or another, if we are tarot and oracle deck collectors, have accidentally ended up with a counterfeit, or maybe we didn't realize how harmful it was. That happens. What I'm talking about is that what I want to nip in the bud and what I want to, I guess, help to change is this feeling like just because something feels out of reach financially that we should just snap up a crappy alternative for it. And without going on and on and on and on and on, I'm going to say a few things. Number one, Google, if you're not sure, if you don't buy into what I'm saying with how harmful the counterfeit market is, just Google counterfeit products and organized crime. Most of the times these products are made under the table. They are made by not ethically conscious individuals. And listen, there's nothing in my house, I'm sure, that's perfectly ethical. I'm not here to sit on my high horse, but I am here to say these products are harmful. And as an indie deck creator, and as somebody who so many of my friends and comrades and peers are indie deck creators or even mass market deck creators, this industry is destroying the tarot world, the oracle world. It's really wreaking havoc on creators. It's really hard to make something knowing somebody out there is probably going to copy it, rip it off, sell it for pennies. Sure, that's a part of it. But the part that gets to me the most is the way that these products are so harmful. So here's the thing. Oftentimes, those markets get a hold of us, or they seem appealing to us. These duplicates seem appealing because we just want the thing. And maybe the thing is out of our budget. Maybe it's too physically difficult to handle. Maybe we want a smaller version of that thing. This is why we now make so many mini decks, because sometimes these more standard sized decks are difficult for our hands. So maybe we want something smaller, easier to shuffle, that kind of thing. But a lot of times it's literally a budget thing. A deck goes out of print and it starts selling for hundreds of dollars in that aftermarket. And that's difficult if you're really, really craving that deck. But something I do a lot in my own practice, and so I thought I could maybe put it to good use in this kind of context, is I am always finding things that sort of dupe the vibes of something else. I like to have things in my personal tarot collection, in my toolkit, that each feels like it serves an independent, like a unique purpose. And so often by accident, I end up encountering things that sort of do the same job, have a similar vibe, or give me the same feeling as another deck. And when I find those things and they happen to be a really affordable, easy to get thing that is doing the same job as a very difficult to find, expensive, or out of print thing, I like to share that, because then we know that there's alternatives. And maybe my dupes won't work for you, but I do hope that what this video will do, and all the dupe series videos that I've done so far, I think there was 2 more before this, I hope that what they will do is show all of us that if we're really fiending for something, there's often something else that can do a similar job. Nothing's going to be identical unless it's a copy, okay? But, or unless it's the thing that we want. But there are some really great alternatives that might scratch the itch, as I like to say. So this is what this video is about. I want to show some alternatives to some maybe difficult or expensive decks that might just scratch the itch. There is a couple where I don't own one of the decks I'm going to talk about, and in those cases I will pop a picture up on the screen somewhere in this space for you, and then talk about the other deck and show it from my collection. But most of these I have. So let's jump into our first dupe. The first one that I want to talk about is the connected and free Alchemist Oracle. This one is out of print, I think. I want to say that there is a French version you might be able to get if you look on like Amazon France or I think. I could be making that up though. But this is by the same creators that did the Lumina Tarot, and I am hoping that a version of this comes out in the mass market. This is a beautiful oracle and I love it. But one of the things I find myself coming to this deck again and again for is partly, I love the chakra cards are in here. Is partly that, but it's also this kind of simple line work mixed with splashes of watercolor that I personally really love. And I find that it makes this deck pair well with a lot of things. The colors are soft. There's nothing overwhelming visually about the deck. The keywords are amazing. And it's toned back just enough that it doesn't, like I said, overpower. I love this image. It doesn't overpower when you place it next to other things. Now, I personally have been using this lately as my perfect pairing for This Might Hurt Tarot. And I love this deck. I've always loved this deck. This was a early edition. I don't know what, but again, I think this deck is currently out of print. Now, what I've done is looked and thought about what works for me the exact same way in my collection. And I actually have what I think is a really, really good dupe. And that is now available in mass market. It did start out its life as an indie deck, and it is the When My Soul Whispered Oracle. So here's Connected and Free. And this is the original indie edition, but this deck is now available mass market for a very affordable price. This deck has, again, line work, watercolor, fabulous keywords, and some intentional chakras are in here. So the creator of this deck pulled in limited color to every image that is meant to evoke those chakras. Or at least, I think, I could be making that up. I'm doing this from memory. But yeah, here we go. There's the chakras. That's right. There. Okay, wait. Hold on. Now, this deck has the line work and splashes of watercolor, which make it work just beautifully next to just about anything, just like Connected and Free. In fact, why don't I do it this way? This would be better. And on top of that, it has that sort of pulled back quality. It's got lots of white space. It matches well with just about everything. And to top it all off, it also has chakra cards. So for example, look at this. Here is the base chakra or root chakra card from the Connected and Free, and Microcosm is actually the root chakra card from When My Soul Whispered. So if you have been thinking, gosh, I really want a deck like When My Soul Whispered in my collection, but there's no way I'm paying an out-of-print price for it. I mean, look at how these colors are harmonizing. Then I'd really encourage you to consider When My Soul Whispered. Also, I really enjoy the size of this deck. It's a little bit smaller, and the mass market is, if I remember correctly, is the same size. I like the smaller size. It makes it work well with just tons of decks. And again, the keywords are wonderful, like strength, acceptance. They're similarly efficient at getting the point across. And they just work so well. Like I want to keep showing you chakra cards. Yeah, like here's the sacral chakra card. Here is the throat chakra card. It's called Passion instead of just chakra, which is actually better, I think, in some ways, because if you're not already familiar with what each chakra is all about, having a keyword like love or passion is going to help bring you into the meaning of the card without necessarily knowing the chakra by heart. So yes, I really encourage you to check out When My Soul Whispered if you've been fiending for this Connected and Free Alchemist Oracle. And here is the tally. So the last eBay sale that I could find that completed for for Connected and Free was $265.01 US. The last price I pulled up in my spreadsheet or made note of on Amazon for the When My Soul Whispered Oracle deck on Amazon mass market, $17.83. So you're saving $247.18 to just pick up the mass market of When My Soul Whispered and see if this will scratch the itch for this. The next deck I want to dupe for you is the She-Wolf Tarot. Now again, we are usually going to be duping the vibes. Sometimes I get a really good dupe like in the Connected and Free that we just showed where like visually they also have so much in common. For this one, it's definitely a duping the vibes situation. So I've picked this deck up. It's currently been living in my purgatory. I'm pretty sure this deck is leaving. I just haven't found it a new home yet. And I want to love this deck more than I do. Truly I do. It's spectacular. This was a pricey little deck though. And I paid almost as much for it, which I did not include. I based all my prices I'm sharing with you today, I based on US prices because I know that's where a lot of you are, but I'm in Canada. And when this deck came in, I paid almost as much for my customs and duties as I did for the deck. And it gutted me that I didn't fall in love with it because, oh my gosh, I spent so much money on this, but it just did not work for me. But one of the things about this is that the visuals are for me, what didn't really work, but it's so funky and empowered and unique. And I think that if you've been looking for a deck with this kind of vibe, with this kind of like empowered, but also kind of cool kid vibe with like the funky collage and like the really like out there type of imagery. I don't even know how to describe this art style. It's digital collage, but it's got this like slightly 70s kind of feel to some of it. It feels very feminine and empowering and fierce, but also there's cards like this that I'm like, I don't understand what it means. Looking at it, like I don't get it at all. But the thing is like it's a deck I wanted to love, and I kind of tried to make myself love it, and I still don't. So it's not for me, which is super sad because I really wanted to. I really wanted to. And the She-Wolf, I've heard nothing but good things about it from people who have just really gelled with it, and I want to. I so badly want to. It's not happening for me. But there is a mass market deck that I think dupes the vibes, and I don't have it. I have considered getting it, but because this vibe turned out to not be my thing, I decided not to go ahead and buy the possible dupe, but I'm going to put it up on the screen for you, and it is the Muse Tarot by our very own Chris Ann Donnelly. Chris Ann's artwork is so incredible, and I have multiple other decks by Chris Ann that I absolutely adore. The Muse just never quite did it for me. One of my deal breakers is that occasionally the cards go landscape, but the vibes of this are completely on point with the energetic feeling I get looking at the She-Wolf Tarot. It feels feminine and empowering. It's got that sort of digital collage vibe, that kind of funkiness. It feels like it takes me into the 70s kind of a little bit. It's got that retro feeling to the collage. And it really feels like it has a similar energy to the She-Wolf Tarot. So not including any of the wild custom stuff, the She-Wolf Tarot is, or at last time I checked, was $108 US. If it's still available, I think it is, question mark. If it's out of print, I may have to adjust the numbers on the screen, but $108. And the Muse Tarot, last time I looked on Amazon in US dollars, was $20.25. So if you get the Muse Tarot instead of the She-Wolf Tarot, you'll be saving $87.75. And just so it's said, I am not here trying to say like one of these decks is better than the other, or just because it's less, you should buy it. If you are drawn to She-Wolf and you know this is the deck for you, this is the deck that if it's within your means and you want to spend that money, you should get. I'm not here trying to say buying the more expensive deck is a bad idea. I'm just saying that sometimes if that's the decision we're trying to make and we want to try and see if something like that will work for us, sometimes that more affordable option or the more readily available option is the better place to start. Just so I've said that, but listen, y'all do you. I'm good with it. I have spent hideous amounts of money for a deck, and I've also absolutely fallen in love with some of the most inexpensive hidden gems ever. That's why I have a series called Mass Market Madness. I love me some mass market decks, but I also really love my luxurious indie decks. So 100% you do you. I just want to show you the different sides of the coin. All right, so the next one I want to talk about is the ever so special Tree Whisperers Oracle. Now this is the Secret Garden edition. This is an indie deck, and it comes out in small pre-order runs by the creator Max Black. She has now multiple versions of the Tree Whisper Oracle. This was my favorite of the editions. I have been tempted to get all of them because they're all very special, but they are, especially for me in Canada, they were way out of like my normal price range on average, especially once I factored in shipping and exchange rates and all that. But what Max does is really special here. She takes a photo of a tree and she mirrors the image. And you get these trees that literally come to life with faces. The camera does not do these decks justice. They are incredibly special, and they really feel like you're having a conversation with tree spirits. And that is spectacular. There's something really, oh, I love him so much. This is the release card. I love how lush and magical this deck is. And there's the original Tree Whisper Oracle has more of like autumn sort of vibes to it. And then there's the more recent one, which has like a wintry feeling. But this Secret Garden edition is legitimately my favorite. I love it so much. Again, this deck does go in and out of print technically, but do not scramble. My advice would be not to scramble and purchase this deck for out of print prices. Instead, just keep an eye out, sign up for Mag's newsletter, and keep an eye out because she does do pre-order runs. You just have to catch the timing. So she kind of gets an advance check-in from people who want to buy, and then based on however many people want to buy, she'll do a small run, and then everybody will get their deck, and it's all really smooth. But again, it was quite pricey for me, especially with shipping and customs and all that kind of stuff on top of everything, but I don't regret it. I think it's really, really special. All of that being said, she's pricey. She's pricey. So if you're looking for a deck that will connect you with tree spirit energy, there's a lovely one that came out in the mass market that I would like to highlight to you. And it is called the Tree Keepers Oracle. And can we just talk for a minute about how both of these tree bags have special embroidered bags that Peggy made back when she had her embroidery machine, which was ages ago. But tree bags have to be tree decks have to be in tree bags. Both of these decks are special, and they both function in that way that they pull me into tree energy really beautifully. This one is available mass market. That's what the backs look like. The art is by Stephanie Pumin Law, who also did the Shadowscapes Tarot. This is such a magical, otherworldly deck. It's got more of a, I would say, mystical or fairy tale feel compared to the Tree Whisper Oracle, which feels a little bit more otherworldly, like you've just sidestepped. The photography makes it feel like you've just sidestepped during a forest walk and found yourself engaging with these creatures. This feels more transportive, as in you're completely different world. It does pull you into that world. I think Stephanie Pumin Law's artwork is really incredible. And definitely this contains all of that tree energy for sure. And I love it for that. It really, really harmonizes beautifully. I love working with this next to Shadowscapes Tarot 2. For me, these two do manage to fill different places in my collection. But if I could only have one sort of tree deck and budget was a question, I would definitely check this one out. It's beautiful. Again, it's mass market. It's super special. And I don't think, look at this Keeper of Flow. Look at this tree. Oh my gosh, so gorgeous. Look at this one, Keeper of the Subconscious. It's breathtaking. So, 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 so beautiful. And trees have such a presence in this deck. Again, the vibes are a little different, but they really take you into it. Another one that you might consider, and I didn't put it in this dupes, but I'm going to mention it in passing, is the Sylvankind Oracle, which you can find on Etsy. I'll try to remember to flash a photo of that up on the screen for you. I did not do a price comparison though, so I don't know if you'd actually save any money going with the Sylvankind Oracle, but that is another special tree deck. I don't know why I'm showing you a picture when I can just show it to you. No, actually I can't, so I'll take that bit out. Anyway, so let's talk prices. So at last I did the calculation, and I may have just backwards calculated from Canadian to get here to the US amount. I don't know how I did this, but this is what I wrote down. For the Tree Whisper Oracle, you're looking at about $92.24 US. And for the Tree Keepers Oracle, last price I found, these prices, by the way, include shipping when possible. This one probably, I can't remember if this one does or doesn't. But in any case, this Tree Whisper Oracle here is $21.87. So if you purchase this one instead of this one, you're saving somewhere in the ballpark of $70.37 US. The next deck that I would like to dupe, even though there's not a huge price difference between them, is the Journey of the Sacred Bee Tarot. I don't own this one. Bees, not necessarily my thing, but this deck is absolutely beautiful. I'll put a picture up on the screen for you. The art style is absolutely gorgeous. It looks luscious, and I've heard nothing but good things about the Journey of the Sacred Bee Tarot. I didn't pick it up again because I wasn't sure about the bee theme, and for me to invest in an indie deck when I'm not sure the theme is going to be for me wasn't quite right for me. But I do have a fabulous dupe because this was sent to me for review by the publisher, and it is the Bee Tarot. This was published by Llewellyn. This is a deck by Christopher Hughes with art by Nadia Turner. This deck is luscious and beautiful, and if you're looking for an incredible bee-based deck, like, oh my gosh, look no further. This one is not for me. It turns out that, as it turns out, bees really aren't my thing. The art is absolutely gorgeous. This is what the backs look like. This comes on that, like, Llewellyn linen finished stock. So it's quite floppy, quite comfy to shuffle. It's really, really beautiful. I could not personally handle all the bees on bodies, like bees on faces and bees on clothing, and I just couldn't do that for some reason. It was giving me the heebie-jeebies. But for reals, this is beautiful. And I will say I have another deck that Christopher Hughes did. It is the Yuletide Tarot, and I adore Christopher's writing. And I think that you will really find that if you are drawn to a bee-like tarot and you want one that's affordable and that will get you into this energy, I really don't think you can do wrong with this one at all. I think the artwork is gorgeous. It's very easy to read. Like the symbology is really rich in all the cards. That's one of the ones I can't do. And I also can't do sticky, so like all the honey everywhere is like makes me a little nuts. But anyways, that's me being twitchy. That is a me thing. But in any case, I think that if you're looking for an affordable bee tarot, this one is, oh, so worth checking out. The colors are really rich and vibrant. It is a different art style than the Journey of the Sacred Bee, quite a bit different. But if what you're after is that really magical bee energy, I think you're going to find it in this deck. And I don't know or don't remember what kind of book the Journey of the Sacred Bee comes with, but these books that Llewellyn puts out with their decks are just beautiful, especially if you really want to get a close-up look at all of the details in the art. I know that people, you know, not everybody loves these big books. Some people find them really unwieldy. They're not the most practical, for sure. I don't like necessarily always having to chuck this in my bag when I'm going to be carrying a Llewellyn deck around, but oh my gosh. I love the opportunity to like really sink into the artwork and like see the details I might have missed on the card-sized art. So I really appreciate these books. I also, like I said, I have not read a ton of this particular book because it turned out the deck wasn't for me. But Christopher's writing in the Yuletide Tarot is incredible, and so I can only assume this is just as good. Please weigh in down below, folks, especially any of you down in the comments who have both the Journey of the Sacred Bee and this Christopher Hughes Bee Tarot. I'd be so curious, but I mean, for starters, they're both bee decks. So if that's the energy you're after, I feel like this could make a really great alternative. Let's talk prices. So the Journey of the Sacred Bee, last I looked, was around $61.80 US versus, I think that's with shipping, versus the Bee Tarot by Christopher Hughes, which last I looked on Amazon was around $28.48 US. So you would be saving about $33.32, which I think is the lowest amount of savings of all the dupes I'm showing today, but is still an interesting point, especially because this is so easy to get. And if you just want something in this form factor, or you're really drawn to the cardstock of this deck, for example, or you really prefer the art style, that's definitely something to think about. Of course, as always, do support our indie creators too, if that is your jam. But I just wanted to show you that there's choices. Our next dupe I am so excited about, and this is a recent discovery. So first off, let's talk about a deck that is so coveted and is special, but I don't use as much as I thought I might. I still adore this deck and I do reach for it, but this is the Majestic Earth Tarot. Now I may have duped, I know, in fact, I'm pretty sure I duped this deck in a previous dupes video where I was focusing on out of print decks, but the Majestic Earth is really spectacular. This is by J.D. Hildegard Hinkle, who was also the creator of the Tarot of Delphi. And this is really beautiful. It is a curated art deck. So this takes famous landscape paintings and has put them into tarot cards. There's a border on the bottom that gives you keywords for the card, but this is famous art, or maybe not so well-known art. I don't know, but it's landscape art. And it is spectacular to look at. I'm not going to lie. This is so beautiful. I love sinking into this artwork. I find it really meditative. I find it's really wonderful for path working and for really pulling yourself into the environment of a card. It's very calming. And one of the things I love about this, because I have compared it to other nature-based or landscape-based type of decks, but sometimes landscape decks, by which I mean decks that feature mostly in a space and not people, can feel a little bit empty, a little bit, not lifeless. Obviously the landscape has so much life, but can feel a little bit lonely. And this deck does a really good job of featuring landscape art, but there's still interactions between people or animals. We still see people throughout this deck. It's not devoid of that kind of life, of sentient life. Maybe that's a better way to put it. But man, is it gorgeous. And it is special. But holy cow, is it insane in the out-of-print market. Like I said, like some of these out-of-print decks just go for like bonkers prices. And if what you're looking for is the vibe of a deck like this that kind of helps you to see the beauty in the world and is calming and features these spaces that are just, you just really want to like gaze upon and that are so beautiful and like I said, kind of calming, have I got the dupe for you. This is a fairly new release, I think. And I just filmed, I don't know if it's out on the channel yet, we'll see. But I just filmed a walkthrough of this deck and it just literally stole my whole heart. But this is Tarot Landscapes. This is art by Yoshi Amari. This is a mass market deck and it is absolutely gorgeous. It is 100% focused on spaces, outdoor spaces. It's illustrated, so it is a painterly quality. It's very storybook-like in its art style, which I personally really love. It's very calming and immersive. It's also not isolating or lonely. There's still little animals that you'll see throughout the deck that sort of keep it from feeling too cold or distant. It sort of brings it all to life. And I hope you can see, just even looking at them side by side, that while this has that sort of like historical art context, right, that does give it a different layer, both of these decks, when you think functionally and energetically of what they do, like look at these scenes and how harmonious they are with one another, because they both have that vibe of pulling you into an environment, of pulling you into a place, and giving you the energy of the card by showing you a landscape that captures that energy. That's pretty stinking special. And I will say there is more. Oh, there's a unicorn in the Two of Cups. It makes me happy. I'm sorry. I will say that this deck is very intentional because it was illustrated to match the tarot. It pulls that in really beautifully. Whereas with this, it is a curated art deck. And so you might find, I find sometimes that with curated art decks, there are cards that are a lot more hit and miss than when they're illustrated to show the energy of a card. And so I really, really like tarot landscapes. And like practically in my collection, if I'm being completely honest, as special as Majestic Earth is, and I would like pry it out of my cold dead hands. I love this deck. But this one, Tarot Landscapes, the mass market one, is a lot more practical as far as usability in my collection. The art style makes it visually look nice next to a lot of my other decks, which is a silly thing to think about for some, but for some of us really matters. And it pairs beautifully with my own Unicorn's Journey Tarot, which is always a perk. But more than that, I just feel like it's more accessible. It's a little quicker to pull me into it than Majestic Earth is. Majestic Earth might slow me down, but Tarot Landscapes invites me in and then slows me down. So they both have similar pacing. They're just such a good dupe, and I'm so excited about it because they really do have the same energy to me. And this one, if I were to pick between the two, I would say will probably get more use in my collection than Majestic Earth. So, drum roll please, let's look at the numbers. If you were to purchase Majestic Earth right now, the last purchase made for this deck on eBay, the last completed sale, so not what people are asking, but what somebody actually paid, was $385.50 for Majestic Earth. Tarot Landscapes is on Amazon currently for $17.87 US. So this deck will save you about $367.63. And I say save you if you were on the cusp of buying this because you just didn't know if there's anything quite like it out there. Well, there is. And also check out my previous dupe video because I'm pretty sure I talked about another dupe for this deck as well. So there are definitely dupes, but this incredible dupe, love the vibe. Love how it matches. Is so good. So anyways, yeah, big savings on that one. If you are looking for a landscape style deck, I highly recommend you check it out. Okay, this next dupe is sort of a temporary out of print dupe, but it's mostly just an indie to mass market dupe. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about one of my favorite decks of 2024 and a deck that I use every single Sunday, Tarot of Her. I am obsessed with this. I just actually went on their website because I was trying to look up like prices. They ran out of stock shortly after the Kickstarter for this that they did in 2024, but they are doing another Kickstarter for this deck in 2025. I think they're aiming for April or May. And they said they're going to do an expanded edition, like a second edition and expanded. I don't know what that means. I'm sad for my wallet because I really love this. I'm probably not going to spring for another edition of this because that's silly because this is still new and I like this and I'm bonded to this, but this is a beautiful deck. One of the things that I absolutely love about this deck is it feels like a deck that energetically is a little like, I guess, the Mother Piece, or what I imagine people feel when they work with the Mother Piece Tarot, but the Mother Piece Tarot just never quite worked for me. But this is beautiful. It is a round deck. It is very much deeply rooted in the idea of Mother Earth, the feminine as an embodiment of being in the world. And what I especially love, there's so many things I love. It's the structure of the deck. The suits are all based on plant parts. So blooms are the wands, or the fiery part, the display part of the deck. And here's the 10 of blooms, and it has carrying the load. So they do have like keywords or key phrases on them. 4 of stems. So stems carry the liquid in a plant. They carry the water up to the flower, to the bloom, and nourish the plant. And so stems are cups. And here the 4 of stems is indifference. I love the art. I love the vibe. I love the roundness. I love the fact that they have a whole system in here for how the roundness is like the moon phases and how it affects the way you can read the card. I love all of it. I'm here for everything about this. It feels like Mama Earth, and I love that. It connects me to that energy, and it is glorious, and I'm a huge fan. Now, number one, round decks are not practical for everybody. They can be difficult to shuffle. They can be difficult to handle. You might have hesitated because it's round, but maybe you're really into the vibes of this, but it's out of your price range, or just more than you're comfortable spending if you're not sure it's going to be for you. Beautiful deck. I have zero regrets about bringing it into my collection. However, currently at this particular moment, it is out of print temporarily. So if you're fiending for something that scratches this itch and you're not sure if you want to pay indie prices for this when it comes back to Kickstarter, then might I suggest the Earthwoman Tarot? Oh my gosh, this is by Tarn Ellis. This is such a fabulous dupe for Tarot of Her, in my opinion, because the Earthwoman Tarot is doing kind of the same thing energetically, and it's mass market. And on top of being mass market, the art is absolutely beautiful. On top of being mass market, it's in a standard tarot shape and size. So if the round deck thing is definitely a deal breaker for you, then this is something also to consider. I am actually, at the time I'm filming this, I am working with this deck right now and having such an incredible experience with it. I absolutely love it. You'll hear more about that from me when I do my January deck reviews. But in any case, holy moly, is this beautiful. Now, one deal breaker for people might be that these illustrations show figures that do not have like faces. I don't mind that at all. And this deck 100% has the vibes of the divine feminine and that earthy, grounded energy of being in the world. That same earthy, divine feminine energy I feel from Tarot of Her, I do get from this deck. They are illustratively much different. They are obviously a different form factor, and they are a much different price, but they are both incredible decks. And if you're not sure if a deck that is all about this sort of like deep-rooted feminine is something that you want to invite into your practice at the moment, this might be a great way to check that out and try. But frankly, I love both of these decks. And this one is the deck that I will maybe read for clients with, or take out and about with me, or use just day to day. Tarot of Her is a deck that I use as a special part of my spiritual practice, and I only use it at home. I keep it in this big giant box. It's not as toss in my bag and run around with it, you know, as Earthwoman Tarot might be. But I mean, if even the names, you can kind of tell, right? These are meant to fill a void of like not just decks that have a lot of feminine energy, and there is, by the way, some masculine energy present in this deck as well, which I appreciate, but not just that. It's more than that. It's about earthiness and connection to earth and connection to being and experiencing and feeling, and it's very tactile and tangible, as is the Tarot of Her. So I think this is really special. I think there's a wildness and a beauty to it, but it's also very, very readable. I don't think you need keywords with this deck. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith, but it still does its own thing. It's artistically interesting. I must have shuffled the title card in. It's artistically interesting to look at, and it is so much fun to work with. And again, reads like a dream. And even the colors are very like rooted and earthy and just gorgeous. Love, 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 love. And to top it all off, there is an Oracle deck by the same creator. So it kind of, there is the option to get a perfect pair for it if you are into such things. I'm just going to show you briefly. And it is this one, the Earth Song Oracle, also by Tarn Ellis, by a different publisher. But I've been using these two together and I am obsessed. This really adds to, or sort of enhances, that Earth Gaia kind of, Earth Mother kind of energy. And I think using these two in combination is where I really dupe the vibes of this. But it dupes it regardless. You don't need both the Oracle and the Tarot. But I've been really enjoying working with this, with Earthwoman Tarot, and I'm so glad I have them both. But it's this is the one that we're duping. It's just, I had to show you because it's kind of like, it kind of adds to it. You know what I mean? All right, let's do the numbers thing. So Tarot of Her, while on Kickstarter, cost about, I'm going to estimate because I couldn't see what it cost to ship to the US, but I'm going to say it was about $80 US all in with shipping, I think, in that ballpark. Okay. Earthwoman Tarot currently on Amazon is $28.95, which puts it at a savings of $51.05 US thereabouts. We have one more dupe, and this is another out of print dupe suggestion. And that is going to be a dupe for the Guardian Angel Tarot. Listen, not everybody is seeking to dupe this deck, but it's special in my collection, and I wanted to share what I think makes a really lovely alternate for it. I apologize if I've done this one before. I kept a record of what I duped before, and it isn't in my list, but I keep second guessing myself because I feel like I might have talked about this somewhere before. So if this isn't new to you as a dupe alternative, I'm sorry, but I didn't have a record of having to do it. So we're gonna talk about it. So Guardian Angel Tarot, this was originally a Doreen Virtue deck with Radney Valentine as a, it was like Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. And then when Doreen did her Doreen thing, it became a Radley Valentine deck. And now even this version is out of print. There is another Guardian Angel Tarot by Radley Valentine, but in my opinion, it is not at all the same thing, does not have the same vibe, but might be a good dupe. Now my copy of this has been trimmed, and I edged it in these beautiful pastel colors. I was totally inspired by a Dawn Michelle trim and edging, so I did that, and I love it, and it's super comfy. This is like a grandma deck to me. I love it so much. But one of the things I love is that this is the deck that sort of began my bedtime tarot practice, my bedtime card practice, where I would pick a deck like this. It started with this deck specifically, put it by my bedside, and right before I go to sleep at night, I will shuffle and pull a card and read the message, and it's very soothing and calming. There's nothing confronting about this deck, but it also does have even the shadowy meanings in it if you're aware of them. I think it'd be very easy for you to ignore the shadowy stuff if you want to, but if you are somebody who likes to pull the shadow in, it is present in this deck, even if you don't think it is at first glance. I find it all the time. I see it all the time. There is a softened tough love element to it if you're looking for it, which I guess maybe isn't tough love then. I don't know what you would call it. There's like a little bit of kick in your butt energy, but it's gentler. It's like a nudge. It's a nudge and you're behind, you know, instead of a kick in the ass, you know? Anyway, I love it. I love it because the messages are right on it. I love the gentle artwork. I like that it feels like it's like a grandma talking to you. Like, you know how it's like, it's always like really loving and soft, but then also can be kind of like pokey also at times. That's kind of what I feel from this deck. But what I love is that there's writings right on the cards, so I don't have to think too hard. I can just get my message, and then I can put it away and curl up and go to sleep and feel like I've reflected on my day or reflected on what I need to think about and that sort of thing. I really, 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 really enjoy this deck. So, but it's been out of print now for a while, and the last time I could find a copy that went for sale on eBay, somebody paid in the ballpark of $113.53 US plus shipping to bring this deck in, I think, if my calculation is correct. But an alternative that is still available, it is an indie deck, but it is easier to get unless, I hope it's still in print. Oh my gosh, I'm going to feel silly if it's not. But is the Song of the Grandmother's Oracle. This is such a special deck. This is by Kara Simons with art by Mari in the Sky, who is the creator, excuse me, of the Gentle Tarot and My Friend Fire. And Song of the Grandmothers functions for me the same way this does. In fact, both of these decks live in a basket by my bed and are pulled into rotation for bedtime readings because they both do the same job and they do it so beautifully. So just going face value on the cards, we have gorgeous artwork. We have a little haiku, which feels like a little message, and each one is named grandmother and then whatever the plant is with a keyword. So we have grandmother swan, silence. Sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses. Yeah. Grandmother Swan says silence, and then Grandmother Violet says introspection, and then it's got a little message down here, and so forth and so on. And so this is plenty to work with at bedtime, but if you want more, if you go into the guidebook, you will see there is like a little message that's in quotes and italics as if that plant or energy is speaking directly to you, like it's like in quotes. Yeah, like, so here's Grandmother Ocean, Freedom, and it says, return to me in the womb of the earth and feel the rhythmic caress of my embrace. No matter where we go, you are always safe in my arms. And it's always so comforting. It's always such a comforting little message. It's always in quotes. Like here it says, my dear, you are always connected to a vast network of help, which may include your ancestors in this earthly realm or even extend beyond among the stars. You do belong. Your choices matter. How will you draw on this support system to leave the world better than you found it? Call me anytime. I'm always available to keep you company while you reflect. So forth and so on. Really, really beautiful. So it totally has that same comforting, cozy grandma vibe that the Guardian Angel Tarot has. But number one, Guardian Angel vibes with the whole doilies and this whole vibe might not be for you, number one. This is much more nature-based. There's animal energy and plant energy and insect energy and weather energy all throughout this deck. There's herbs, there's flowers, there's fruit, there's crystals. Yeah, here is Grandmother Prairie. Here's Grandmother Earthquake. So all kinds of like natural energy here. This would, by the way, also pair really lovely. I haven't done it yet, but oh my gosh, this would pair really well with that Earth Woman Tarot also. But anyways, so that is Song of the Grandmothers Oracle, and it is an indie deck, but I don't recall it being crazy expensive. In fact, I'll give you the numbers. The Guardian Angel Tarot, last time I could find a completed listing on eBay, it was one that sold for $113.53 US. Song of the Grandmothers, last I looked on the website, was $66 US. And I believe that price does include shipping. So if you purchased Song of the Grandmothers instead of trying to hunt down Guardian Angel Tarot, you would be saving around $47.53. Now, oops. All right, let's do a little bit of a tally. If instead of purchasing these indie or out of print decks, you purchased only all of these mass market decks, but you bought all of them. So you bought all of the more affordable versions and none of the more expensive versions or hard to find versions of these decks, but you bought all of them. If you had done that, you will have saved a total of $904.83. That is almost $1,000 savings by going with these more mass market or easier to find decks in all of these cases instead of these out of print or indie or difficult to find decks. And again, just to reiterate, listen, buy what you want. Support all of the creators. Both indie and mass market creators deserve our support and our attention. Those of us who care about this community want to support creators. That is a beautiful thing. My suggestion is, if you're fiending for something and it's difficult to get, before you run off to one of those cheapy sites and get yourself some crappy knockoff with crappy cardstock and real bad juju because of all the icky things it supports, just consider, do some digging. Reach out to friends who are also into tarot and say, listen, I'm really fiending for this hard to find, out of print or expensive, blah, 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 but I want to spend like 25 bucks. What do you recommend? People do that in my tarot group, Supportive Tarot, all the time. You will find some fabulous dupes just hanging around in tarot collecting spaces or tarot enthusiast spaces if you're looking for that sort of thing. And this is also a great time to also check in with what you already have. You might find the deck that you're looking for is duped within your collection already. So I just want to encourage us to be creative in thinking about what we're going to bring in and why we bring it in. I bring a lot of things in. I also send a lot of things out. That is part of the work that I do here, reviewing decks, making decks, being just enthusiastic about decks. Sure. But there's so much good stuff out there. And sometimes we just get fixated on something because it's hard to get. There is real science behind the thrill of the hunt, so to speak. So keep that in mind and do what's right for you, whatever that looks like. But just know that somewhere out there is a deck that will almost perfectly dupe the vibes of that thing you just have not been able to find. And if it isn't there yet, it probably will be there eventually. So keep your eyes peeled, ask your friends, ask the community, and remember that all of these are wonderful quality decks, and more expensive doesn't mean better. And on the same vein, cheaper doesn't mean better. And now I'm babbling, so I'm going to stop. But thank you for hanging out with me for this affordable dupes video. I hope that this was enjoyable for you and useful in some way. As always, I appreciate you all so, so, so much. An extra big thank you goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members. Thank you so, so much for all of your support. And until the next video, y'all, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.